لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. So as the brother said, I'm not a guest speaker, I'm just a replacement, because unfortunately he couldn't make it. But so I'm going to be talking about the pilgrimage, the hajj, so where it came from and how to do it, and etc. Before starting, we always start by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We ask His help, we beg for His forgiveness, and we ask Him to guide us. Whoever Allah guides, no one can misguide. Whoever Allah leaves astray, no one can guide. I bear witness that there is no God worthy to be worshipped except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I bear witness that Muhammad is His last messenger and slave, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So, first of all, what is Hajj? Can anyone tell me, especially the little ones, what do you know about Hajj? Yeah. Is to visit the Kaaba. Yeah? What about you?
Well, the Hajj is somewhere that you pray, but if you're not near the Hajj or anywhere near the Hajj, you face the Hajj 5 times a day.
Okay. What about you?
The Hajj is one of the 5 pillars.
Okay, Hajj is one of the 5 pillars. You?
The need.
It's the?
It's a need.
It's a need. Yeah, alright. So, as you said, the Hajj is one of the 5 pillars and is the 5th pillars of Islam. And as he said, either you go there to the Mecca where you have the Kaaba at least once in a lifetime, or you face, or as he said as well, you go and visit. And in that case, it also will be Umrah. And every single Muslim, no matter if he's a male or female, has to go and perform Hajj. But there is a condition. Is the provider that is actually physically, so he can actually go there, he's physically well, he's in health, but also financially, because it's expensive, because of the flights, because of the trip, maybe you have to stay in a hotel and all these kind of things, it has a high cost. So only if you're physically and also financially, so both of them together. If one or the other is missing, then you don't have to go. So, why do we know that we have something called Hajj? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, He says in Surah Al-Imran that indeed the first house of worship established for mankind was the Mecca, the Kaaba. And that is a blessed, and that was blessed and guidance for the world. Then this Kaaba, this place, is a clear sign such as the standing place of Ibrahim. And whoever enters it shall be saved. And Allah made the people, and Allah made the pilgrimage to people to go to the house and to find a way to go there. So we have to go and try to go and visit and to perform this. But we also know, as I mentioned before, that the Prophet ﷺ said that Islam is built on 5 pillars. So we have 5 pillars. The first one is the testimony of faith, that there is no God worthy to be worshipped except Allah. The second one is to establish the prayer, paying the zakat, go to visit the Hajj, go do the Hajj, the pilgrimage, and then also fast in the month of Ramadan. So now we know that, so for example, we know why we're doing Ramadan, we know why we have to pay zakat, we know why we have to pray, we know that why we have to believe in one God. But why do Muslims perform Hajj? Why do we have to perform Hajj? Do you know? Yes, that's exactly. Because we follow an act of devotion of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, as the brother said, the little brother. But also Hajj, because of this great status, is basically an ultimate form of worship. So it's like one of the highest level of worship. And you go Hajj only when you're called to go Hajj. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls you to the house, then you know that's your time, then you go there. You don't just go only out of your own will, but also because you get called to go. And also because this act of worship, it combines so many things from many different other obligatory acts, such as like it has a lot of things that has to do with the prayer. It has a lot of things to do with patience, because there are so many people there that is very difficult. It's a very difficult test because there's so many people around. We're talking about millions of people, so it will test your patience. Like you never tested, like maybe you never been tested before in your life. It also tests of like your life, because you live in everything for 2 weeks and you're going away. It tests your devotion, and then the sacrifice, the supplication, because you do a lot of supplication and slaughtering. So obviously because of this great act of worship, Hajj has a lot of excellence, a lot of virtues. So the first one is that we said that is one of the ultimate forms of worship, and is one of the best deeds, because the Prophet ﷺ was asked which is the best deed that a Muslim can perform, and he replied, to believe in Allah and His cause. And then to believe in Allah, and then to fight in His cause. And then he was asked what was the next one. He said to perform Hajj. So that's already, we know that that's one of the best deeds, because after these two deeds, the third one is to perform Hajj. And to perform Hajj which is accepted. That's what Mabrur means. To perform Hajj which is accepted and it's complete. The second one is that people that go Hajj, and if they do it completely, as the Prophet ﷺ taught us to do, then all the previous sins that he has done, they are all forgiven. And the Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned this, he used this example. All his sins, he's free from all sin as the day that his mother gave him birth. So when you're just born and you come out from your mom's womb, you're free from all sins because you just came out in this world. You can't commit sins. And this is how once you completed the Hajj, you're free from everything, every mistake, every previous sins that you committed, you're free from all of this. Imagine. So if you live for 20 years and you go Hajj, then all that you have done for 20 years or 30 years is all, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala all forgives your sins. Is that a great reward and a great excellent? And the third one, there are so many more, but I'd like to conclude with this one, the virtues, is that when you go to visit and you do perform Hajj, you're actually the guest of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imagine. So when I go, I don't know, to the person that you're like the most favorite person, maybe like someone is the footballer, maybe, I don't know. When you go to his house, you'll be like, oh yeah, I'm a guest of this person that I like him. Imagine being guest of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the God that created you. You're his guest, and when you're a guest, if I go to someone's house and I ask him, can I have some water? The person that is hosting me, they will give me the water, will give me this. And Allah subhanahu, the messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that anything that you ask him, like a guest, he will respond. And if you ask him forgiveness, he will forgive you. Anything that you ask him, he will give it to you because you are his guest. Then we move on, and there are different type of Hajj, because you can have different type of Hajj, and it's all about the intention that you have. So before leaving, what's your intention? What type of Hajj you want to do? So you have three types. The first one is Hajj al-Tamattu, which is basically you go there, you perform Umrah. Umrah is like a small Hajj, yeah. Then you take off the clothes to do the Umrah, because we will go over. There is a specific type of clothes, and then the day that the Hajj is going to begin, you will wear again the clothes. The second one is the Hajj al-Ifrad, which is only Hajj. You know, performing Umrah. It's not a combination. And the third one is the Hajj al-Qiran, which is basically Hajj and Umrah together. You put them and you do it together. The first one you do first Umrah and then Hajj, while this one you do them, you combine them together. Quick question, can anyone tell me where's this? Yeah.
It's the black stone from Jannah.
Yeah, black stone from Jannah. Okay, so we talked about the clothes that you have to have when you perform Hajj. So you have to have this specific type of clothes, which is basically two cloth, and it doesn't have to be sewed. So it has to be like a free cloth from all the sewing, and you have to wrap it around. I'll answer the question later. Yeah, you have to wrap it around. You have only two pieces, one around your waist and one around your upper body. And this specific dress, you have to dress it before crossing a specific border, which is called miqat. And if you're coming from you have different miqat from depending on where you're coming from. So you have a miqat, for example, for people that come from south, so they're coming from, I don't know, Yemen or coming from Somalia. They, before entering this boundary, this one here, which is called Yalamlam, they have to do it at that specific place or before, but they can't cross that specific region or that specific place without having the ihram, which is the clothes to perform the Hajj. Then, if you're coming from Iraq, you have this place called Iraq. Then, if you're coming from north, such as Syria or Palestine, you have Dhul Hulayfa. Then, if you're coming from other places, you have Juhfa. And then, but usually nowadays, because we're flying into to the place, to Saudi Arabia, so they will announce where is close to the miqat, so you'll be able to dress, because otherwise you have to pay a penalty. So you have to dress, and you can get rid. So now we'll go into performing the Hajj. So the Hajj is actually not that long. It's 5 days. So you can go earlier, but the main thing is that you have to be there for these 5 days. The first one is that you have to be there on the 8th of Dhul Hijjah. And you go there, you go from the mosque, you have to wear the clothes that we said, and you go there. So if you did first the Umrah, and then you took off your clothes, then this is the day where you're actually going to wear back the Ihram. And if you're coming, you have to already wear it, so you go to Mina. And you stay there for all day. You pray the Fajr. Then when you have the sunrise, on the 9th, you go to Arafah. And this is the most important day of the Hajj. This is the most important day. Because there is a narration from the Prophet ﷺ that he said, the Hajj is Arafah. So Hajj is Arafah. So if you're not there on that day, the specific purpose is to be there on that day. You can go Arafah any other day, but it won't have that same value if you don't go from sunrise to sunset of the 9th of Dhul Hijjah. You can go, but it doesn't have the meaning of Hajj. To be Hajj, you have to be there on the 9th of Dhul Hijjah. We're talking about the Islamic calendar, obviously. Then you stay there, and on that day you make dua. You make so many supplications, you pray. Because on that day, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will save so many slaves from the hellfire. On that day also, He will ask His angels to say which of my servants they ask Him, they beg me for anything that they want, I will grant to them, because of this specific day. Also on this day, we are recommended from the Prophet ﷺ to fast, because every single sin that we committed the year before, and every single sin that we committed the year that we will commit. So imagine, sin that you haven't even committed, they will be forgiven. Both here, the one before and the one after. So imagine, you fast on this day, every single sin that you will commit, they will be already forgiven. Isn't it that great reward? This is a great mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And also, on this day, after Asr, there was one revelation where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that He will completed the religion. He completed Islam regarding the ruling, and He favored us with Islam. All the Muslims were favored with Islam. And in this day, the rulings were all completed. Then after, when you have sunset, you won't actually pray there, Maghrib, because we know at sunset we pray Maghrib, but you start moving towards Muzdalifah. And you pray there, and you combine the two prayers, Maghrib and Isha, and you stay there till Fajr. Then you go on the 10th day. This is the day where people that don't do Hajj, they will actually celebrate Eid. But the people that do Hajj, they stay there, and after Dhuhr, they will start heading towards the stoning of the Jamarat. So the stoning is like a pole where you stone, where basically at that time, Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, that's where he stoned Shaitan. And on that day, you shave or you trim your hair, depending on which one you want to do. And you also take off your ihram. Once you shave, you take off your ihram. And also you sacrifice, you slaughter the animal, following what the Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam did. And also you do tawaf. So you go around the Kaaba 7 times in an anti-clockwise. And also you do sa'i. So we do what Hajar did. So walking between Safa and Marwa. And also you take off your clothes, you can wear the normal clothes. And then at the end you go back to Mina, and then you stay. And on the 11th day and the 12th day, you all have to go and do the stoning. So on the first day, but there is a difference on this stoning. On the first day, on the 10th, the stoning that we do on the day of Eid is the stoning that you do only on the big Jamarat. Because there are 3 types of Jamarat. There is the small, the middle, and the big one. So you only do the big one on this day. But on the 11th and on the 12th, you do the stone on all 3 of them. So the small, the middle, and the big one. And each one of them you have to have 7 small pebbles. Can anyone tell me what is this? Quick question. What is it? No, it's not the Kaaba. Does anyone else know?
It's the stoning.
Yeah, this is the stone place. So people, as you can see, this is like an old picture, but now they like improve it, so it's more fluid. People can pass. But this is like what it used to be. So people go around and throw stone at this pillar. So you have 4 pillars of Hajj. So these 4 things are the things that are very important. So you can't miss these 4 things, because these are the pillar. Like the pillar of Islam, you have the pillar of Hajj. This is like the most basic thing that you can have. And this one is the intention of doing ihram to do Hajj. The second one is standing in Arafah. Maybe this is the most important one of all of them, because we said everything about Arafah. Then is performing tawaf, so going around, and do the sa'i, so walk between or run between the Safa and Marwa. So these are the 4 main things that you have to have. This is like the basics of Hajj. You can do these things, and basically you can say that your Hajj is like basic. You have the basic of Hajj. Another question. Can anyone tell me what is this? Yeah, this is the Arafah is a mountain, and this is where you spend the 9th day. This is what is the main thing of the Hajj. I'll answer the question later. Yeah. And there is a reason why the Prophet ﷺ, he said to us, you need to perform Hajj at least once in a lifetime, or you have to be here on this specific day. The reason why is because on this day, it's like we're having a short trailer of what is going to be the life after death. Because we're preparing ourselves, we put in the clothes, the ihram, which is the same clothes that when you die, you're going to be wrapped in. And then you go into this place, and you supplicate. What does this place mean? This place is when you supplicate, when it's going to be the day of judgment. But before that, you go to Mina and you stay there. And you don't do anything except praying and reading the Quran. Why? Because when you die and you're wrapped in the clothes, they put you, they bury you, they put you in your grave. And what do you do in the grave? You don't do anything. You don't have TV. You're dead. So you're going to just sit there. You're not doing anything. And then you go into Arafah. And this is where you stand there. You make dua. You ask Allah to forgive you. You ask Allah to make stuff easy for you. And that will be the same on the day of judgment. And this is also, I have one of my friends, he went. And we all know that on the day of judgment, we know that there is a narration that the Prophet said that the sun will be brought onto your heads. So imagine the sun, how hot is it? It will brought into your heads. So this is on the same, he said he felt the same thing on that day. We felt the same thing on that day where burning sun was like it will fell on his head, how hot it was. We'll stop quickly for the adhan and then we'll recommend. So as I was saying, on this day is what is a kind of trailer. Because we know when a film comes out, before the films you have like a little short clippage where you can see what will happen. So that's why the Prophet ﷺ and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala encourage us to at least go once in our life to actually experience this, to prepare ourselves to what will come up, to what will come after our life and what will be. So give us like a short like taste of what it will be. So to conclude this short lecture, I would like to talk about the last sermon of the Prophet ﷺ. Because on the first time that Hajj was prescribed to Muslims, that was the first time that the Prophet ﷺ performed Hajj, but it was his last time. And he gave a sermon when he was standing on the month of Arafah. And he gave like a very powerful sermon. First, he said that there is no superiority of an Arab over a non-Arab, or there is no superiority of a non-Arab over an Arab. So an Arab is not better than a non-Arab, and a non-Arab is not better than an Arab. And also a white is not better than a black, and a black is not better than a white, except in taqwa. So be conscious and be fair of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But so this is a very powerful statement, because this is a statement that brings social justice. It's giving us the instructions of being just with everyone, regardless the color of their skin or the color of their race, but just to look at the person, heart, and the fearing that he has for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the feelings also that he has for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The second statement, he told us that Allah has forbidden us, all Muslims, to take usury, more specifically interest, because we know that the interest is the base of social injustice and also social inequality. Because with interest, we see nowadays that the rich become richer while the poor become poorer. So the Prophet ﷺ, he told us on this very sermon, which was done more than 1400 years ago, he told us the basics of social justice again, to avoid taking interest, because that will bring social injustice to our community, or to the world as well. The third one is that every good or every item that you have, that someone has entrusted you, you have to look after it, and you have to return to the owner, to the rightful owner. So if someone give me a phone to keep, I have to keep it, I have to look after it, and then I have to return it. It's not mine. It's because he told me to look after it, then I have to return it. And also to hurt no one, even though it might hurt you. So this is like where the sweetness of Islam comes, to look after people. Even if they hurt you, the Quran what they tell us to say, to respond with salam, to respond to peace. Because we know that one day we will indeed meet our Lord. And every single deed that we do will be like recognized, will be reckoned for every single deed. So obviously we want to, if we respond with peace, we'll be rewarded with good deeds. So we want to meet our Lord with as many good deeds as possible. Also, he talks about, he tells us and encourages us, and he kind of like push us to treat women well. We all go around and say Muslims, maybe women are not treated well, they're not equal and stuff, but we can see from this statement of 1400 years ago, the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, he told us to treat women well and to be kind with them, because they are our partners and they committed to help us. They're not our slaves, they're our partners, they're our friends. That's why we have to treat them well. Also, he tried to build this Muslim brotherhood, this feeling to be that Muslim is a brother of every other Muslim, and all together we form a brotherhood. And we know the hadith that the Muslim is like a body, the Muslim ummah, If one part is hurt, then the whole body will complain. Because you know that if your arm is hurting because you hit your arm, maybe at night you can't sleep and all your body won't get rest. And that's the same. This is the example that Prophet ﷺ used to use, a very basic example to make everyone understand. Also, he recommended us to pray your 5 daily prayers. To pray your 5 daily prayers. That's the minimum that you have to do. To fast during the month of Ramadan, to give zakah and to perform hajj if you can afford, as we said before. And as we said, all these things are part of the pillars of Islam. And this is the very basics. So he didn't say you have to do this, so many things. He just recommends to do these 4 small things. Pray the 5 daily prayers, fast in the month of Ramadan, give zakah and perform hajj. This is the basics that every single Muslim has to do. He didn't say you have to give millions of pounds or millions of dollars. He said to give zakah, wherever of your own income. And lastly, he told us, and because we see nowadays that we might have these problems, that no prophet or no apostle will come after me. So because no one will come after, because we know after the prophet, there was the Prophet ﷺ, he was the last one. So what did he say? He said that he left behind 2 things that will be sufficient for us. The Quran and his example, the Sunnah. Because he was sent to perfect the manners. And the Quran, he will tell us about everything. So because there will be no one, he left these 2 things, which is the Quran and the Sunnah. And this is what I prepared for you. I would like again to apologize because the guest speaker couldn't come, and this was what I prepared for all of you. And whoever anything correct I've said, it comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Any mistakes that I've said in my speech, it comes from myself, and I ask every one of you to forgive me, as well as I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive me and all of us, and to guide us to the straight path. Wallahu a'lam wa jazakumullahu khairan.